to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a hypnosis session all about having the confidence to open up in social situations and perhaps share anecdotes, tell stories, be willing to share your opinions about any topic that you want. And I was working with a client that felt that they couldn't do that because their nature was to be a bit more shy and introverted, that they felt that they weren't really able to share who they were and their own experiences. So a lot of this hypnosis session is all about unleashing this inner storyteller, this raconteur. And when you think of the term raconteur, at least for me, I think of it as someone effortlessly telling stories, weaving different narratives in a very kind of charismatic way. And that could be quite difficult to do if you haven't had much experience doing that. So this hypnosis session uses a metaphor of a advanced virtual reality headset that can actually re-experience memories either as an observer or experiential, to enable the client to see moments of their past where they didn't quite share what they wanted to share. And almost like a time loop movie like Groundhog Day, or one I saw a couple of years ago was Palm Springs, where everything repeats, the day repeats. This enables them to repeat the moment, but changing it until they get it just right. And then when they do, stepping into that and then feeling more comfortable that they can actually bank these stories and these opinions, but mainly it's to tap into a feeling of confidence within that context. Because if you feel unresourceful, even if you've got a great story to tell, you probably aren't going to tell it. If you feel confident, then you'd be willing to tell that story. So it's really about feeling worthy and deserving, and that you have permission to share what you want to share, but also knowing that that doesn't guarantee that you're always going to get good feedback. You might tell a story to someone and they're bored by it, and someone else is captivated. So there's also this element of perspective, that not one bit of feedback means that it's not worthy for you to tell that story. I think people like how I used to be. I used to be very shy, very introverted, very withdrawn in social situations. I think this hypnosis session would have been very useful for me 20 years ago. So if you can relate to these kind of things, then I think you will benefit a lot from this session. Be aware, though, that it was created for an individual, and some of the suggestions might have been perfect for them and not quite right for you. So you can just accept the suggestions that are useful, disregard any that aren't. And if you do like the idea of having something a bit more bespoke to you, there will be a link in the description where you can schedule a free consultation call, and then we can have a chat. We'll probably have a chat right here in my studio. You'll be on Zoom, and then you can ask me questions and I can explain the process of how I actually work with people. So rather than just listening to sessions recorded for other people, you will actually experience a live hypnosis session with me. So if that's of interest, check out that link in the description. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that feeling of quiet relaxation, and as you exhale, just feel that sense of release, as if any tension, stress and worries are just leaving your body in your outward breath. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling tension. That's it. And as you breathe in and breathe out, perhaps you start to notice any clues of tension, stress, any blocks there in your body. And just allow yourself to feel that you can let go. And it might be tension in the forehead, or the jaw, or the neck and the shoulders. And just imagine as you breathe out, you're letting go of that tension, enabling you to feel deeper and more relaxed. And the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you feel. And the more relaxed you feel, the deeper you breathe. Each breath takes you deeper and deeper relaxed. That's it. And as your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I want you to imagine what it would be like to be in a futuristic laboratory. I want you to imagine walking through the halls of a college in Cambridge and discovering a lab focused on computer science, augmented reality and virtual reality. And I want you to imagine seeing cutting edge technology. As you walk into the lab, just imagine seeing the most advanced VR headset ever created. Because ordinarily, virtual reality can only place you in the three-dimensional realm that is programmed into the software, the application of that headset. But I want you to imagine that this headset can take you back to a memory. As you breathe in and breathe out, just notice the look of this VR headset. And whereas our realities follow time in a linear form that only moves forwards, technology can mean you can go back to a moment. Isn't that what a photo or a video is? Seeing a moment from the past, but sometimes it brings up emotions similar to what you experienced at the time. And I want you to imagine putting on that VR headset and initially going back to a memory where you felt confident and relaxed. It doesn't need to be a social situation. Just a time when you felt confident and relaxed. And I want you to imagine you're back in that place, feeling that confidence and feeling that relaxation. And just being back in that moment makes you feel good. And I wonder if you can notice where in your body you feel that confidence. And then just start amplifying that confidence. Make the confidence even more intense. Feel what it would feel like to have even more confidence. And then notice if relaxation is somewhere else. Maybe relaxation is just noticing how loose you feel, how easy it is to breathe in and out. The overall feeling of a lack of rigidity in any muscles, feeling fluid. Or maybe relaxation is the pace of any inner dialogue. Slow, deliberate. Or maybe the clue is your breathing rate. Long and slow. And just imagine amplifying that relaxation. So whatever relaxation you feel, you're able to feel even more of it. And when you feel confident and relaxed, it's time to move to a different memory. Because this is about unleashing your ability to feel confident, sharing your past, your experiences, to not need permission to tell a story. And I want you to think of a moment in your past, perhaps recent, but it could be from many months or years ago, where you wanted to share more, tell a story, interact more, but didn't quite feel that you could. And with this VR headset, you can just think of that place and then imagine being there. But I want you to imagine being there initially as an invisible observer. You're in the room but not in your body. And I want you to imagine seeing yourself exactly as you were. Not worse, not better. Not changing any emotions, just exactly as you were. And I want you to see you at a moment where there was an opportunity to maybe tell a story, to get involved, but you didn't. And I want you to imagine seeing it as it was, but then considering this a time loop. You get to replay this moment until it's exactly as you want it to be. The first iteration is reality, as it was. But I want you to think from this third-person perspective that you can change that version of you. Just imagine giving that version of you more confidence and seeing your posture and facial expressions change. Imagine giving that version of you more relaxation. Imagine dialing down the stakes so it feels like there's nothing major here, it's no big deal. And as you do that, allow that version of you to do it again, but differently. And I want you to project a possible anecdote, story, or take on what's being discussed. And as you do that, see that version of you speaking up more, sharing that anecdote, that story, that interesting take. But I want you to imagine you don't have one shot to get this right. You have infinite shots to get it right. And if you could imagine seeing yourself with more confidence and relaxation, just allow that take to get to the end as you consider yourself a director. A director making a movie might have 10, 20, or even 50 takes before they feel like they've got the right one. The moment one take has finished, loop it back to the beginning and see yourself trying a different version, maybe a different story. Maybe see yourself talking louder. Maybe you see yourself with a different on-ramp, a phrase that you use to start the story. Ooh, I remember when. Do you remember that time when? That's really fascinating, and that reminds me of, as you see yourself ramping into your own story, your own anecdote, allow it to play out. Just observing, but seeing you looking confident, looking relaxed, perhaps even playful. Everything is just a shot to nothing, a roll of the dice. Very experienced comedians always test their material to small rooms of people to figure out what works before they go on a big tour. And when a joke doesn't work, they either refine it or discard it. But the whole point is to figure out what works. And they keep what works, and they discard or refine anything that doesn't. And I want you to feel that you are a director of a version of you, either refining or discarding anything that your intuition feels wouldn't work perfectly. Everything's an improvement, a refinement. And maybe you see yourself telling stories of funny moments, proud moments, coincidences, things that were surprising. And when it gets to the end, loop it again with a different telling of that story. And you don't have to know all the details. You don't have to see yourself saying things word for word, but just see you being experimental. The idea of you saying different things in different ways. And maybe you change your body language, more expressive in one and less in another. And sometimes, when you lower your volume, people have to pay more attention to listen. I want you to see yourself testing all these different variables until you figure out what works. And when you found something that in that same context you feel would have been a vast improvement on what you did do, play it one more time. But this time when it loops back to the beginning, imagine stepping into your body and feeling what it would feel like to not observe you telling the story, but feel what it would feel like to be the one telling the story. Feel that confidence. Feel that relaxation. Feel that the memory of the moment is what helps you tell that story. Not a script or words you have to remember, but a memory that you're recalling and then sharing. And I want you to feel authentic, genuine. Feel attentive. But if people are enjoying your story, you can elaborate and extend it. But also feel that you can wind it down if you don't feel comfortable sharing that story. And a story that might work well with one person might not work so well in a different place. And I want you to feel you're just experimenting, just feeling comfortable. And each time you tell a story, share an anecdote, or share an opinion on something, you are both telling and refining in real time. And the next time you share a similar opinion, anecdote, or story, don't be surprised if it evolves naturally. And every time you tell it, your confidence grows. You feel more relaxed. And I want you to feel that you are unleashing your inner raconteur and natural storyteller. But natural storytellers aren't born natural storytellers. In the same way that an athlete isn't born an athlete. It's practice, repetition, and confidence that comes from experience. And every experience you have empowers your inner raconteur to feel empowered to tell your stories, share your anecdotes, and share your opinions, your experiences. And if you can imagine feeling that, just let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And each time you listen to this, you will change the context and change the story, training your brain and building the very neural pathways needed. So when you find yourself in real experiences, you will feel more empowered than ever before. And one final place to visit in this virtual reality is your future 1 year from now. I want you to imagine seeing yourself a year of practicing, sometimes with real people, and sometimes just thinking of stories or opinions that you have, that you may or may not share in social situations. See yourself a year from now in the kind of context that you could evaluate all of that progress. See yourself like you're someone else, and now look how natural you look, confident you look, relaxed and playful you look. That version of you is charismatic, authentic, real, genuine, and natural storyteller. Start to leave this experiment in your imagination. And as you imagine taking the VR headset off, find yourself back there in that university lab of the future. But as you leave, feel like you're taking these resources with you, realizing this was a journey in your imagination, a journey of thoughts within thoughts, ideas within ideas, and dreams within dreams. And as you float back to your present, the here and the now, all of those thoughts, strategies, and resourceful emotions come flooding back with you as you feel excited to build a bank of wonderful things to share. Very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you, and you will awaken feeling resourceful, inspired, eager to build up your bank. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. That's it. Connect and calibrate into the here and the now as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of The Hypnotist. And if you've got some value from this episode, I'd like to ask a favor. And that is that all of the platforms have some way of you telling us that you like it. And that might be hitting the like button, that might be giving it a 5-star rating or a short review. And if it's possible, and it is on Spotify and YouTube, if you can drop a comment with what value you got from the show or anything you liked in particular, that really helps the algorithm to put it in front of new people. Thank you so much again for joining me on this episode, and I'll see you again soon in the next one.